What we have here is what immediately follows what we were looking at in the last video. That to secure these rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, amongst many others, I suppose, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Again, to an American, if you're not an American, I can tell you this all seems kind of corny, right? Because you've heard it a million times and people repeat these words. But the thing is, it's not corny. It's philosophically very daring, the kind of claims that are being made here. And it's just jam packed with interesting ideas and questionable ideas, which makes it interesting. Right? First of all, what's the first claim here? Well, we just heard that there are certain self-evident truths about rights and that everybody's born equal, that everybody is endowed with certain rights. And amongst these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Right? And now this claim that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. That is, what you have there is an answer to the question about what government is for. What is the purpose of government, which is a question that political philosophers have been asking for thousands of years. And this answer, which is really derivative of 17th century British tradition, maybe the French tradition, John Locke, his Second Treatise of Government, being oftentimes pointed to as a big influence on this. But the answer is that governments exist in order to protect the rights of the governed. That is their purpose. Right? And presumably, the only purpose that's being pointed to here. Is it the only purpose of government? Maybe, maybe not, but it's certainly being pointed here as the central and essential function of governments. Government exists to protect people's rights. And, Locke thought that property was the essential right. The Declaration of Independence does not mention property, life, being a right to life, being a right to freedom, being a right to the pursuit of happiness, being the central rights here. Government exists to protect those. That's the purpose of government. Now, that may seem either obvious or not at all obvious or whatever it is, but certainly that was not the dominant idea of the purpose of government throughout human history. This is a new or newly important idea about the purpose of government. Continues that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. That is another huge claim, because it's basically the right of revolution. It's basically saying government has a purpose. The purpose is to protect these rights. If a form of government, instead of protecting these rights, starts to violate them, that is, if it becomes destructive of the very ends that it is supposed to be promoting, then the people have the right to alter the government, change it, or even to destroy it, to abolish it. That is, which is, then in the 18th century and now a very radical position. The idea that people have the right to change government. I mean, not just change. We're not just talking about electing new people to serve in offices of our current government. We're talking about changing the government altogether. For instance, the United States has a form of government founded basically on the U.S. Constitution and by tradition having certain forms. It is a representative democracy or a republic, whatever you want to call it. To abolish that would be to end it and start something new based on something else. So the right of the people to alter and to even abolish government, I think this goes under the self-evident truths from the very beginning, is something that the writer of this document is saying it's obvious. People have the right. If government isn't doing its job, if it's destructive of the ends that it's supposed to promote, then people have the right to change it or to destroy it. And to institute new government. right? To start a new government. That is, the power to institute government lays in the hands of the people, us, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. The people have the right to start new governments and to make those new governments in whatever way they see fit, whatever would seem to promote their safety and happiness. That's what they can do. Because after all, that's what government is for. Government is for the protection of rights, promotion of happiness, I guess. So they can do whatever they want. Okay. So it really is quite a radical thing to say. So again, if you're American, you've heard this. It seems so corny, 4th of July, but it's really just sort of jam packed with these radical philosophical claims.